As the world celebrates that extraordinary life, we're also getting a history lesson about America in the 60s, about the black consciousness movement and about the men and women who stood up and gave it a voice. Among them, Martin Luther King, assassinated, Malcolm X, assassinated, Muhammad Ali, of course, and another name, John Carlos. In 1968, John Carlos won bronze for America in the 200 metres at the Mexico Olympics. His fellow countryman Tommy Smith won gold. And as the American national anthem played and the US flag was raised over the Olympic Stadium, Tommy Smith and John Carlos stood on the podium and raised their fists in black gloves in a black power salute. They also wore black socks and no shoes to symbolise black poverty. If you've seen the photo of them, you will remember that. It is an indelible image. And like much of what Muhammad Ali was doing and saying, it was highly controversial. This morning, I spoke to Dr. John Carlos about that time, about Ali, and about raising his fist on that podium.
Well, the first thing came to my mind, the last thing that came to my mind is I'm a free man. You know, I stepped off the victory stand saying they could never put shackles back on John Carlos's ankles or mine.
This was all really revolutionary then. And in 1968, Harlem was very much at the centre of all of this stuff. And you were there and Muhammad Ali was often there. What was that time like?
Well, Ali and I used to run together. I was like 25 and he was 28. And we used to run together at schools and give speeches and talk to kids and take pictures and do a lot of things together. And then, you know, I'm the type of guy where I'm outgoing, but I don't like a whole bunch of crowds. And as Ali started to come back after they subjected him to, you know, prosecution and all that kind of stuff, then people started magnetizing to him, and I kind of slide back. I don't like a whole bunch of crowds. I like to get up to make the necessary changes, but I don't like being in the picture that much. But he was and is a tremendous gift to this society in which we live. You know, I look at Ali and say, you know, Ali's gone on the physical aspect, but spiritually he'll never go. You know, in my estimation, man, where they got the Big Dipper in the sky, well, for me, from this point on, it's Muhammad Ali in the sky. He's the Big Dipper. He's the biggest and the brightest star. Relative to what he's done with his life and his career, I would sit back and think that every civil rights activist, and I'm going back in time, Harriet Tubman, you know, Nat Turner, all of them did their part, but all of them going to have to take a step back. And Muhammad Ali is going to be in the number one seat for what he has done, not just for black people, but for humanity as a whole around this world.
Dr. Carlos, you spoke about Muhammad Ali, but on that podium, that Olympic podium in Mexico City in 1968, that was you and Tommy Smith who put those black gloves on your left hands and raised your arms in that Black Panther salute. That was you.
You know, when you sit back and think about that, you think about, you know, the beaches of the world and think about all the sand on the beaches of the world, and God reached down and picked up 3 grains of sand. You know, Tommy Smith, Peter Norman, and John Carlos. I mean, you can't be anything but humbled and just honored that God would choose you and say you didn't have to do this, but you have the opportunity to make a difference in society. And thank God we all chose to do it.
You must be so proud now. Do you look at that picture? When you look at that picture, what do you feel?
Well, you know, when I look at that picture or when I hear accolades from people, I think more about my mom and my dad, you know, in terms of how they raised me, what concerns they had about me as a young kid, the fact that my father used to teach us when we were youngsters, whatever you do, don't do anything to disgrace or embarrass the family name. My sister texted me on my birthday yesterday to tell me, say, yeah, remember Daddy used to tell us, whatever you do, don't disrespect the family name. And she said, by God, you put our name in stone. You know, and that means a lot to me, you know, to think that, you know, so to speak, coming from chicken shit and turning it into chicken salad, it doesn't get any better than that.
No, I reckon it doesn't. I've been reading a lot about you and Tommy Smith and Muhammad Ali. 1968 is 5 decades ago almost. And you know what? A lot of it is still pretty revolutionary now and brave too. 6 months before you did that at the Olympics, Martin Luther King had been assassinated. Before that, Malcolm X had been assassinated. Muhammad Ali was facing jail, of course, for refusing to fight in Vietnam. I was just watching Ali ask, why is Jesus white? And I just wonder, Dr. Carlos, where did all your courage come from?
Well, I'm going to tell you, you know, you said, you know, why is Jesus white? Well, you sit back and you look at it and say Jesus was the one that propelled individuals to do these things. You remember, there's always man-made icons, and then there's God-given icons. If you sit back and you say, well, think about Grace Kelly. Grace Kelly was a man-made icon, but Harriet Tubman was a God-given icon. So it's not about having courage. You're born to do the job that you're doing. Muhammad Ali was born to come here and do what he did. John Carlos was born to come here and do what he did. And, for you to sit back and think about Muhammad Ali and John Carlos both, I think I can go so far as to say we were, very, how could I say, illiterate when we were youngsters coming up. We couldn't read the whole 9 yards. But we realized the mission that we had in front of us, then we started to tighten up our game in terms of learning how to read, learning how to articulate, learning how to deal and motivate people through these crowds. This is what propelled Ali to the greatness that he was. It wasn't about the fact that he couldn't spell in his early life or I couldn't spell in my early life. It's about what you did in your life. A lot of people are concerned, so-and-so was born this day. And then at the end of their time, so-and-so, Muhammad died this day. The date that Muhammad was born is irrelevant. The date that he died is irrelevant. But what is relevant is what he did between those 2 days. And that's the thing that's going to carry him for the eons of time.
Dr. John Carlos, gosh, it was a privilege talking to him. A couple of things I want to tell you about that interview. After it was over, we chatted on for a wee while, and he told me how much he loved Peter Snell. And he said he absolutely insists I pass that on to New Zealand. One of the most decent men he met in his time as an Olympian, he said. And the other thing, in that famous photo of he and Tommy Smith standing there with their fists raised, the Black Power salute, a triumphant declaration of identity, there is another man in the photo, the guy who won the silver medal. His name was Peter Norman. He was an Australian runner, and he obviously didn't participate in the protest, except he wore a badge in solidarity. And when he died recently back home in Australia, Tommy Smith and John Carlos were pallbearers at his funeral. It's a beautiful story.